7-4, it is adding and subtracting rational expressions. Question number 1 is going to be to find the least common multiple of these two terms. Well, in order for us to find the least common multiple, I want you to factor each one. 9x cubed, there is nothing to factor. Here, I want you to pull out your GCF, and in this case, the GCF is 3x type x minus 7. If you look at those two terms, can you tell me what's the common factor and what would be the smallest common factor? The smallest common factor is going to be 9x cubed x minus 7. So we should have x minus 7 as a common factor, x cubed is a common factor, and between 9 and 3, it is going to be 9, the common factor. So the LCM will be this one. Okay, number 2. In order for us to find the least common multiple of these, I need you to go ahead and factor the 2. This one is x plus 5, there's nothing to factor, and this one factor into x plus 5 times 2x plus 1. Look for the product of 10, the sum of 11. And so, dividing by the leading coefficient, and you will get these two factors. So if we want to look at the least common multiple of those two, it's going to be x plus 5 is a common multiple, and 2x plus 1 is a common multiple. Next, we're going to do number 3. To find the least common multiple of the two, I need you to factor each expression. To factor this expression, the product is 6, the sum is 5, will be x plus 2, x plus 3. To factor this expression, the sum of product negative 18, the sum of negative 3, will be x minus 6, x plus 3. Now we're going to look at this expression and this expression and look for the least common multiple. The least common multiple is x plus 3. It is already here and here. And the other two factors should be x plus 2 and x minus 6. This will be the least common multiple of the two expressions. Okay, number 5. Number 5, we'll have to add these two expressions. 3 divided by 2x plus 11 divided by 5x. The first thing I need you to do is look at the two denominator and find the LCM or the common denominator. The common denominator is going to be 10x. Now you have to ask yourself, what should I multiply top and bottom by to get a 10x on the bottom? And this is 5 over 5. Here we multiply top and bottom by 2 over 2. The idea is to get this denominator be exactly like this denominator so we can add the 2. And so here we have 15 plus 22, or simply the answer is 67 over 10x. Next we're going to go to number 5. For number 5, we have 15 divided by x minus 2, 3 divided by x plus 8. Alright, now we have to look at these factors. Since they're already prime, that means you cannot factor them. Look for the common denominator or the least common multiple of the two. The least common multiple of the two is going to be the product of the two, x minus 2 times x plus 8. Now, what are you going to multiply top and bottom here by? So you have the common denominator. And as you can see, it's going to be x plus 8 on the top, x plus 8 on the bottom. And this denominator is a common denominator. Here we have to multiply top and bottom by x minus 2. If you multiply the top by x minus 2 and the bottom by x minus 2, you will see that this denominator here and this denominator here, they're exactly the same, they're common denominator. So now we're going to have to copy this numerator. This numerator is going to be 15x plus 120, 15 times 8, plus here we distribute the 3 and it will be 3x minus 6, combining like term, and this is going to give us 18x, which is 15x plus 3x. 120 minus 6 gives you 114, and the denominator is x minus 2 times x plus 8. Now, what I want you to do is try to see if you can factor the top and the bottom and reduce. As you can see in this case, you cannot factor, you cannot reduce, and there is no need for you to go ahead and FOIL the bottom. You can leave it simply this way. Okay, number 6. You have 3x divided by 2x plus 1, and this is going to be 10 divided by 2x squared minus 5x minus 3. I need you to pause for a second and try to factor this denominator. This one is already a prime, and if you paused it and come back to it, this is what it should factor to. You have 3x over 2x plus 1, and these factor into 10 over x minus 3, 2x plus 1. Now we have to look for the common denominator, or the least common multiple of those denominators. As you can see, 2x plus 1 and 2x plus 1 is a common denominator. Here we have x minus 3. We need to multiply top and bottom by x minus 3, so we do have a common denominator. As you can see, look at this denominator and this denominator. Are they common? Are they exactly the same? You take this common denominator here, which is x minus 3 times 2x plus 1, and you simply copy the numerators and add them. This numerator gives you 3x squared minus 9x. This numerator is simply a 10. Now we're going to go ahead and attempt to factor this numerator and see if something would reduce. Because in the case something factor and reduce, you must. And if it doesn't factor and it doesn't reduce, you can stop. In this case right here, you can tell that this doesn't factor anymore. You can stop, and this is the end. Next, we're going to do number 7. Number 7, we have x over x minus 7. We have the next factor is 2 over x plus 1. And last factor is going to be 8x divided by x squared minus 6x minus 7. Alright, we're going to look at those denominators and factor them. X minus 7 is already a prime. X plus 1 is a prime. This one here, what's the product of negative 7 and the sum of negative 6 is going to factor into x minus 7, x plus 1. Alright, now we have 3 different ratios. We have this ratio here. We have this one over here, and we have this one over here. We want all the denominator to be the same, so we need to look for the common denominator. The common denominator is going to be the product of x minus 7, x plus 1. Well, here I already have x minus 7. That means I have to multiply the top and the bottom by x plus 1. And now I have the same common denominator. This one here, I am going to go ahead and multiply top and bottom by x minus 7. If you multiply here by x minus 7 and here x minus 7, and that will give us the same common denominator. As you can see, all these 3 ratios have the same exact denominator. I want you to take that denominator, which is x minus 7, x plus 1, and copy all 3 numerators on the top. The first numerator over here will give us, by distributing x, will give us x squared plus x. This numerator here will give us negative. You see that negative right here? Put it in front of 2 right here. And so that will give us negative 2x plus 14. And this one here we have a negative, so I'm going to put it right over here instead, minus 8x. Next, what we're going to do, we're going to combine like term and try to see if we can factor and reduce. So this is x squared plus x minus 2x minus 8x will give us negative 9x plus 14. Now, as you can see, we're going to attempt to factor and see if something would reduce. And we have to. Is there a product of 14 and the sum of negative 9? As you can see, this is going to factor into x minus 7, x minus 2, divided by the denominator, which is x minus 7, x plus 1. Well, the reason we factor so we can reduce our answer, and if these 2 factors reduce, your final answer should be x minus 2 over x plus 7. Please don't reduce a term, you're done. Alright, number 8. For number 8, you have x over 10 minus 3 divided by 5 plus 1 over x. We have to go to the numerator and look for a common denominator. If this denominator is 1, we have to multiply on the top by 10 over 10. The idea is in the numerator, I need a common denominator of 10. Copy the first numerator, which is x, and 3 times 10 will give you a 30. And that's what you have on the top. On the bottom, I need to do the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and do a common denominator, which is x. That's the least common multiple of the two. And then when I multiply, I am going to have a common denominator of x. And on the numerator, I have 5x plus 1. Now, at this point only, when you have a single ratio on the top and a single ratio on the bottom, we're going to go ahead and copy, change. We're going to switch this expression to multiplication. So we copy the numerator the way it's written. We change division to multiplication, and we multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator. So that will be x divided by 5x plus 1. Now I want you to put parentheses around the quantity and multiply right across. And as you can see, when you multiply across, nothing would reduce. So you do not have to even distribute the x on the top or 10 on the bottom because there's no need to. Nothing is going to reduce. That's your final answer. You're done. Okay, finally number 9. Number 9, we have 12 divided by an expression x squared minus 7x minus 44. I need you to factor it into x minus 11 and x plus 4. On the bottom, you have 2 over x minus 11 plus 1 over x plus 4. I want you to look only at the denominator. We have to do a common denominator in the denominator. The common denominator here, it's going to be the product of x minus 11, x plus 4, which means I have to multiply here top and bottom by x minus 11. And here I have to multiply by x plus 4 on the top and on the bottom. So now if you look at these two denominators, they look exactly the same. So what I wanted to do, I wanted to leave the top the way it is, which is 12 divided by x minus 11, x plus 4. And the denominator, what I'm going to reduce, this is going to give us right over here. This is going to give us 2x plus 8 plus 1x minus 11 all the way divided by x minus 11, x plus 4. I'm going to simplify it a little bit more before I go on and change to multiplication. To simplify it, if you look at the numerators here, 2x plus x will give us 3x. Plus 8 minus 11 gives us negative 3. And so if I factor out a negative 3, this is what this term is going to look like. 12 divided by x minus 11, x plus 4. On the bottom, I'm going to factor out the 3. It will be x minus 1. And this denominator stays as x minus 11, x plus 4. Now, at this point only, you're allowed to go in and say we have a fraction divided by a fraction. We're going to change division to multiplication. So that's going to give us 12 divided by x minus 11, x plus 4, multiply by the reciprocal of the denominator, which is x minus 11, x plus 4, divided by 3 times x minus 1. The idea is when you multiply across, you are allowed to reduce a factor. If you reduce x minus 11 and x plus 4, the 3 and the 12 reduces to 4 and 1. And whatever is not crossed out on the top, it's going to be my answer. And whatever is not crossed down on the bottom is going to be denominator. So that will be 4 divided by x minus 1. Okay, here are 3 examples I want you to try and bring them to class on Monday. Try these 3 examples. The first one is going to be 7 divided by x minus 5 plus 4x divided by x plus 1. So this is number 1. Number 2 will be 7 divided by x squared minus 5x minus 24. And this will be 3x over x minus 8. Next, we're going to do number 3 and number 3. X squared minus 3 over x squared minus 6x minus 16. And this is x plus 5 over x plus 2